Previously on Crime 101.
But the angle of the wounds on the arm suggested that she only raised her arm as she was being attacked.
The defendant looked at me. He made me feel like prey.
That man hurt me, and then he went and killed someone, and you are helping him.
Order!
Your job as jurors is to do your duty, to find justice for Janine Jenker. I ask that you find Neil Fox guilty of her murder.
It's time now to put an end to this bungled investigation and prosecution. It's time for the police to find out who really did commit this crime. It's time for you to find my client not guilty.
The defendant is charged with the murder of Ms. Janine Jenker on the 20th of March, 2012. Before he can be found guilty of that charge, you need to be satisfied beyond reasonable doubt of three things. One, that Janine Jenker is dead. Two, that the defendant killed her. That is, he caused her death. And three, that the defendant did so intending to cause her death, or at least to merely cause her grievous bodily harm. I remind you that the burden rests on the prosecution to prove the guilt of the defendant. There is no burden on a defendant to establish any fact, let alone his innocence. The defendant is presumed to be innocent. He may be convicted only if the prosecution establishes that he is guilty of the offence charged. For the prosecution to discharge its burden of proving the guilt of the defendant, it is required to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he is guilty. This means that in order to convict, you must be satisfied beyond reasonable doubt of every element that goes to make up the offence charged. It is for you to decide whether you are satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that the prosecution has proved the elements of the offence. If you are left with a reasonable doubt about guilt, your duty is to find the defendant not guilty. If you are not left with any such doubt, your duty is to convict. In respect of the charge, you must reach a unanimous verdict. That is, a verdict on which you all agree, whether guilty or not guilty. You may now retire to consider your verdict.
I'd actually like to take this opportunity to nominate myself as jury foreman. The only reason I'm
hang on for a sec. Why don't we have an election?
May I just finish, please?
Well, no, you're nominating yourself. Someone else wants to nominate.
That's all right. I'm just making a suggestion, OK? We haven't even started.
Yeah, but how about inviting a woman, for instance, to nominate?
OK, nominate yourself.
OK, I will.
Good. Shall we take a vote?
Yeah.
Would you like me or would you like bucket mouth over here?
No,
who'd like to vote for me? Good. Well, we've done that, haven't we? Great. Righto, done and dusted. All right, well, let's kick this thing off straight away and we'll work this around the table if you like. As far as I'm concerned, there's not a snowball in hell's chance that this bloke did it. For goodness sake, a bloke. Hang on.
Oh, come on.
OK, we have a guy who walks down an alley. Just happens to be waiting outside the back door of a gym, all right? In his shirt and tie and slacks and nice shoes, and he has a knife in his pocket and then stabs this woman to death. But then we also have another guy on top of a walkway who's looking over the side, and the moment someone looks at him, he runs away and that guy's got form.
Yeah, but
and
how
he
do you
runs
think
up.
real estate agents make their money? They take the opportunity, they seize the moment.
I think the guy's not guilty. So if you like, we might chuck some ballot papers around and maybe we can get a vote and maybe we can be out of here by tea time.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding.
That might be a bit premature. We're not in a rush. I don't think anyone here has to be somewhere in the next 10 minutes. So perhaps we just need to
have a talk about it, discuss what we think and throw the ball around a bit.
You start.
Somebody's life is at stake here.
Yeah.
That's right, that's why I'm saying I don't think he did it.
Give people a time to think about it.
I'm just going around the table. But then we also have another guy on top of a walkway who's looking over the side, and the moment someone looks at him, he runs away, and that guy's got form. I think the guy's not guilty. Over to you.
Excuse me, Neil's got form too.
What kind of form?
May.
Who?
May? We all saw May. Nora.
I don't even know who you're
I thought it was
talking about.
May. Well, it's confusing.
There's no form because there was no conviction. And she comes forward 2 years later, after the trial has started, and puts her name up.
You've got to be kidding.
Hang on. Scott has got convictions. Well, you can't convict Neil. You can't convict Neil of being... Hang on, wait. You can't convict Neil of being guilty of something where he hasn't even gone to trial. So you're just simply saying that he actually did that.
But you're convicting Scott just because he goes to a bondage club.
No, because he's got a form for assault and he ran away from the scene of the crime.
I think you're jumping to conclusions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay?
And I think you're prejudiced against him because he's got a prior conviction and he's a member of the bondage club.
I'm just going to put that. Look, can we have some kind of structure or something to this? Is there like a method?
Okay, we'll have a little bit of structure. Why don't we do a ballot right now and we'll run these round and we'll see how everyone's thinking.
You're kidding.
We'll just have run around.
To be taking a ballot. I mean, we haven't even
At least we can get away how people are feeling and then we can discuss those points.
What's about getting away?
What if it was one of our kids who was, potentially going to go to jail for the rest of their life? I'd like to think someone gave it more than 10 minutes consideration.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The guilty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who's the smart ass that didn't vote? Hey?
Well, I'm sorry. I think it's disrespectful. A woman's been murdered.
That's right. And 11 other people thought differently, all right?
We owe her the respect to actually discuss the evidence that's been presented to us in a thorough way.
The case for me is very simple. It was a left-handed person who did it, and that to me is the only real evidence that matters here. All the rest is...
Hang on, there's other evidence. For goodness sake, everyone seems to be forgetting this. We have one guy who's being charged, okay? Who was a man of good character, good reference, has character references everywhere. He's been a pillar of society. We have another... Hang on, can you just stop interrupting just for once?
Have you stopped
just for
talking
once?
so loudly?
Please, stop it. Stop it.
Can I just finish what I'm saying?
Oh, you're so opinionated.
No more yelling. Let's be...
Yeah, you have to stop.
Can we just finish this?
Henry,
We have another guy.
But I'd just like to hear from the other people around the table.
Enough, they've been over everything.
We haven't heard anything from Philippa for ages.
Because she doesn't
Because you might be quiet.
Oh, come
Can we
on.
have a ballot to go to lunch, please?
Thank you.
You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding.
Can we have the ballot? Is that all right? We haven't done it.
Becoming the Henry and Marilyn show.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, will we all be voting this time, Phil? Righto, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, for shit's sake. Come on, what's going on? Make up your minds.
Okay, I don't want to see any of you again.
You're starting to really bully people and it's irritating.
We keep talking about the same things again and
Step
again.
back a bit.
We're hearing you all loud and clear. Let's just listen to other people around the table. It's not all about you, all right? So why don't we just list the points that we have, take time just to brainstorm those. We've got a whiteboard here, and just work our way through it. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
I think there's simply too many people who could have done it. I think we haven't even considered all the options, all the possibilities. I think here we're talking about 2 suspects, but there could be a 3rd suspect as well, and I don't think we've even considered that option.
So who do you think that might be?
I am not sure, but if I look at the map, there's all sorts of people in the picture that could potentially have had a grudge against the person who...
Why don't we just maybe move around the table and just list the key issues or key points that we want to discuss. And I'm happy to go first if someone else wants to go. I don't want to
No, you go. It's all right. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'd like just to discuss Neil Fox. The blue door, it didn't open. And straight up, there's just inconsistencies. I mean, the fact he was smiling on camera is just creepy. It raises issues, a red flag for me.
I just want to say that when you see someone on camera, in a photo, the difference between a smile and a grimace can be really tiny. Yeah. So maybe he wasn't actually smiling, maybe he was grimacing. And
that's a good point.
It just looked like a smile.
Yeah. So let's start with what evidence do they have against Neil? What suggests to them that he was the one that committed the crime?
Well,
I mean, he's smiling.
The blue door, which is the blue door, which is
colourblind? What if he's colourblind?
Yeah, so the blue door, that's the first point.
Did anyone ask that question?
If you're tired and emotional and you've just seen something horrible happen, are you really going to remember whether you ran through a blue door or a grey door?
Absolutely.
Shades of blue, shades of grey, it all starts looking the
So
same.
so there's the door.
Yeah.
There's the grimace, the smile on camera, and the fact that he was looking at Scott on the overpass.
But there's the prior that came up.
What, Nora?
Yeah.
Nora, who didn't report to the police a man that threatened her with a knife.
Well, again,
She was terrified.
We'll come to discuss each point. Let's just get the points. Let's just work to get the points, and then we can come back and we can start to extrapolate.
Okay. Can I put on the table for me is a really serious issue, and it's about the weapon. The guy comes down the laneway, he allegedly knifes and kills this person. Within a very short while, he's back again. Then he races for the blue or grey door, I don't know which, and he apprehends this guy on the overpass. Now, then the police are very quickly on the scene. He could only have moved geographically within a very small area and got rid of that knife. It's a built-up area, it's occupied offices and so on. So why couldn't they find a weapon?
I watch a lot of crime shows, and I know you could poo-poo that, but I really watch them closely. And I'm worried about this forensic stuff because if you stab, I've seen it 1,000 times, if you stab someone in the neck and the arms, the blood is going to go everywhere. Blood splatters.
Yeah,
but not just up your arms.
What you see on the telly, that's not real life.
Well, it's based on real cases.
No, yeah, but they have to make it, they have to dramatise it to get the punters in.
I'm just making the point, I think he would have it all over him.
The issue of the wound and the fact that he had blood on his hands, that can be something.
There's none on his shirt.
Sure, but let's
I tell you what, you've got a knife, you're leaning over, you're not sort of hugging the person, you're leaning over, you're stabbing, there's a distance.
But I think what we all miss here is the left hand. I think, as we noticed, it must have been done by a left hand, and I think for me this is the most compelling evidence.
Neil's left-handed.
No, but it's a bit like this business guy. He's dressed in his good suit and everything. Goes out selling houses.
It was a bit interesting that the defence tried to make sure we didn't know that.
So other evidence they built. We've got
other points we want to discuss.
The doors. We've got the smiling. There's no sign of a murder weapon. They've got the character testimony from Nora. There's blood on the shirt. The fact that he's left-handed.
From Shari.
What was
Shari.
it? Oh, Shari. Shari. Now, what did she have to say about Neil?
Anyway, let's put it down and we'll come back and discuss
She's a
that.
bit uncertain. She was crouching down, probably in shock. She's on the ground picking up her stuff. You know, what's she really see?
We definitely took at Scott and the fact that perhaps he was that initial interview was flawed.
Who made a confession then conveniently retracts it.
He's a nervous guy. You saw him on the stand. I don't think that there's any chance.
Even though he admits that he did it.
Look, he goes to a bondage club. He might be a masochist. Who knows?
Well, now hang on. That's jumping to
attention?
the conclusion a little bit. I think
I've raised some points and argued them, incessantly. I know you're sick of them, but I've got another one to throw in because I'm always throwing things in from left field. And this is the one that concerns me now. Is that Detective Kate? There's something wrong with the investigation. She walks out of that gym and she's immediately at the scene. She should have been a witness for the prosecution, probably for the prosecution. But she's there investigating the case. There's something wrong. I reckon the investigation is totally flawed.
I want to talk about the blood. Can I just talk about the blood?
Let's put it on the list.
Can we put it on the list? Can we just have a quick chat about it now?
on the list.
We have a guy in a shirt and tie and slacks. He has blood on his hands. All right? as from when he's knelt down there, the woman has defensive wounds all over her body, yeah?
Yeah.
Arms and neck.
Yeah.
She's also a gym instructor and she fought back. How is it possible that not one drop of blood got on his clothes?
Well, perhaps he took off his coat and dumped it before he came back to the scene.
On the other hand, if Scott, and you're not in favour of Scott, if Scott did it, why hasn't he got blood on him?
Scott, the guy on the
Yes.
overpass.
Yeah. And how did he? Why
Well,
would
he
he
could
go
have
up
washed,
there and
didn't he?
be looking down?
He could have washed.
The forensic evidence suggests this is a very long-bladed knife. This guy is wearing. He hasn't got a coat on. How does he? How does he
carry the knife?
So we're going to
Scott who confessed and then withdrew his confession.
Well,
We've got the film taken.
There's reasons
The film
for
taken
that.
on the camera. The young guy who filmed at the scene.
Right.
For example, Neil smiling, looking over.
But is that a smile or is it a grimace?
Let's discuss it.
Two things are very, very closely aligned.
People respond in different ways, don't they? Boy, it's like when this stuff that we were worried about that was coming out about the blue door that was locked. Well, I think if I'd seen someone who had been hacked to pieces in front of me and then I'm chasing up some, the last thing I'd be remembering is the colour of the bloody door.
On the door, though, he was insistent that it was blue. Like, he was absolutely sure. And that door does not...
That's a
He
great
could be
point, a great
colourblind. Could be colourblind. We don't know that. And I think we could put Nora's testimony.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we know that she's not lying?
Well, just because. Why do you think she's lying? Why?
Well, let's discuss that in a minute. Let's keep going and get
Hang
our
on.
points.
Because she fancies herself as a singer and would like to be an actor, do you think she's going to promote herself as a sex assault victim in order to enhance her career?
I think you've nailed it. That's exactly what I think.
Or what?
It's pretty convenient that she waits until this trial takes place.
Were there any key points?
I totally agree.
Any other
There is
key
a
points?
key point, and which is I think you're missing the fact that because a person might exaggerate, gild the lily in one regard, it doesn't mean you can discount everything they say in another regard. And I think we have Scott as a really good example of that, and we should also look at Nora in the same light.
Explain the thing about Scott. What a good example about what?
Well, because he confessed, but we know there are all these reasons why he confessed that may have had nothing to do with the actual crime, committing the crime.
Why do you think he confessed?
Look, he's a 37-year-old guy who still lives with his mother. The guy has got clearly social issues.
Do you think he's a sensitive guy?
No, I'd say this is a guy who's got a few problems.
Hey, I think we have to be careful too. We're saying Scott's got form, whatever that might mean. I don't know what got form means, but I think we've got to think very carefully here and not put badges on people because in trials we don't know, the jury will never be told if the accused has got a prior conviction. So we don't know whether the other guy's got form either, if that's what I think we have to temper our language a little.
And I want to put it on the record too. I know it's not very scientific, but just between us, the accused gave me the creeps.
That guy, he is so entitled. You know, he has this sense that he's really important. He's used to getting his own way. And I think one of the things we should be considering is perhaps he didn't intend to kill her. But the fact is he may well have come on to her. She's rejected him in a forceful manner.
Maybe he wanted to have sex with her in the middle of the day, broad daylight, a little bit kinky. You know? Maybe that's what his style was after all.
I'm leaning towards Mr. Fox not being a very nice gentleman.
But on the other hand, the fact that we all have a left-hand page and a right-hand page with arguments for and against probably is a good indication that there's quite a bit of doubt and reasonable doubt.
Well, we've been arguing for a number of days and I'm moving very much from the left to the right.
Yes.
I guess also stacking it not so much in Mr. Fox's favour would be the fact that we have this testimony from singer girl. She claims that Mr. Fox has an unsavoury past and maybe he's done some nasty things in the past. And then this crime takes place outside a women's gym, which Mr. Fox has never been seen near before, to my knowledge. And a woman's been murdered in an attack that, frankly, looks a little bit frenzied. Maybe stuff got a little bit out of hand and it was too much for the fantastic Fox to handle.
What do you think he was going to like sort of go threaten her or something like that? Then she maybe responded or something like that. Then he had to
do something.
That he had to do something.
His reputation's at stake, big time.